Hello and welcome back to another Space Engineers Showcase video. In today's video, we're looking at another tank. Now, don't worry too much in the background, it's using a lot of hinges and rotors to hold itself together, so it does get a little angry every now and again. But anyway, for today we are looking at the Stag Crusader, which you might recognise from Saints Row the Third. It's a lovely vanilla-only tank that features a couple of rocket launchers to blast your enemies with, as well as a full-on interior that you can get down into and even walk around a little bit. Pressing F10 and finding the Stag Crusader in the spawn menu, there it is, and there's the VTOL that I showcased quite some time ago, also from Saints Row the Third. But for the tank itself, it's 4,188 small blocks, using the Wasteland DLC packs. It has all the instructions on the Steam Workshop page, so you know exactly what you're doing with this thing. So we'll give it a thumbs up, we'll move all the way around to the very front, we'll have a very quick look around the outside, and then we'll play around with it, and hopefully nothing bad goes wrong. It looks very angry at the front, so hopefully it'll just stay in one piece. But anyway, at the very front here, this is what we get. Front and centre, we got ourselves some black steel blocks with some white armoured plates, sort of making out the shape of a stag. On the left and right hand side, we can see some great use of our wasteland spotlight, and it's starting to get more and more aggressive with the clanging. Well, let's just speed this up a little bit. But yes, right below our wasteland spotlights, we then got some white steel blocks with some other unique parts sticking out for some added decoration. If we were to come closer over here near this orange ring, we've got ourselves a camera to aim this thing straight forwards. Make sure we can see what we're doing in a first person view. And right behind the camera, we got ourselves this little missing block, because this is how we're going to get in to drive this thing around. Now this is the first little interior, we can't walk around in here, but we can sit in that seat. We can see our programmable blocks with lots of different stuff telling us what's going on. So we've got our time, we've got our weather, our speed, artificial horizon, and of course our power and hydrogen usage. We'll come back to that a bit later. For the gun on top, we've got this lovely thing right here. We've got ourselves a camera sitting on some grey steel blocks that come all the way across onto these black steel blocks. They then come across onto some black armoured plates, because they're going to house our rocket launcher that sits right in the middle. And that's going to be our main way of blasting our enemies, which our co-pilots are going to have to do, because you're going to be occupied driving this thing. If we were to come all the way around towards the back, as for the turret itself down to here, it's just connected on via a rotor in order to move it and spin it all the way around. And all the way at the top and the back here, we then got another little turret that you can sit in with that chair or remote control it from inside if you need to. But it's a similar setup. Once again, we've got ourselves a camera onto a rocket launcher with some armoured plates covering up the side. Then we're going to come across onto this part. This is our hatch to get in and out. We've got a button at the back there, and it's made out of some blast door edge blocks, as well as some steel blocks, and we can see the rotor of how it's going to fold open. If we were to just drop down very quickly, this is the small interior that we can walk around in. We've got ourselves an air vent, we've got a button to open the lid from the inside, we've got two cargo containers just in case we want to store a few bits and bobs inside, and two seats which have remote controls for controlling the main turret, or the small passenger turret, which was sitting right there. Then across over to here, we've got another little decorative piece. Then at the back, so we got some steel blocks just shooting all the way up, an antenna to make sure we can always find this, and some nice use of our letter blocks spelling out Stag. If we were to come all the way towards the back of this thing, we got some good use of our barred wooden blocks, just adding as small vents. At the back here, we've got some blast or edge blocks, as well as some great use of our black and white steel blocks. And over here, we've got some more letter blocks spelling out Stag, and then 79459. Onto the very edges of the back here, we then got some lights, which are acting as brake lights and of course reversing lights. If we were to move around the side, this is what we get. So we've got some more barred window blocks, lots and lots of armoured plates, and at the bottom, instead of having the caterpillar tracks, we're simply using a bunch of small wheels, all tightly packed together. If we were to come all the way inside past our blocks, there we go, we can see how that's all been connected up. If we were to come all the way down and underneath, that is all we get, so we can see all these suspensions going across to the main body, and how all our wheels have been set up. And as for the front there, just so you can see why it is wobbling around and why it's quite angry, we can come all the way into here, and there we go, there is a hinge, and it is very, very unhappy at the moment. But we'll just ignore that and continue on. just looking all the way down so we can get a good view at that. There we go. Then towards the back, there's our turret. And that is that for the outside. And I'll also show a very quick close-up at the hinge, connecting everything together. So coming all the way inside to here, and all the way down, putting on my lights. There we go, it's simply a small little rotor just on the main body, and it goes all the way up. So there we are with that. So now what I can do is just grab hold of my character, we can walk across all the way over to here, and we'll get inside the top section. So what we can do is just press that button, there we go, and now we can just hop up. If the ship or the vehicle could stop wobbling around a bit, there we go, we're now on the inside. We can press this button to close it up, and I'll just shuffle myself into the corner, and there we are. We can access those cargo containers at the back there in case we need to. We've also got a programmable block over here telling us our hydrogen and power usage. We can always set this up with something if you want to. And then turning around to there, getting to this seat, we've got a few controls. So number one is going to be for that interior light on and off, so there we go with that. Number two is going to be to take control over our main cannon. So this is the one at the very front, so if I press number 3 and number 4, we'll then just undo that, we can lift it up and down with our mouse, and we can spin it all the way around very, very slowly. And of course, once we're happy, we can press number 2, and we'll just fire out a rocket. Getting a better angle of that, we're just going to fire that once again, simply a press to fire, and away it goes. We're just going to lock that rotor in place, first person view, hop out of that one, and then press number 3. This is going to be for our side turret, which is the one at the very top right here. So we can either sit in that seat or use the remote control block, and it's the same controls once again. There we have, we move that up and down, and we can spin it all the way around with a simple press to fire the rocket. There we go, we're just going to lift that up, press number 4 and number 3. First person view, hop out of that. Into the opposite seat, we got these same controls once again. But anyway, pressing F will now come over to here, we need to press the button to open up the lid. There we go, we can now jetpack all the way out and land on the top. Closing that up, we can then get into that seat, and we've got basically the same controls as what we just saw. We now just turn that around, fire that if we need to, use the camera for some long-range rocket sniping. And yes, we'll just go ahead and turn that away from the hatch, and we'll close that up for the moment. But hopping out of that seat, we now need to come all the way towards the front. Now we're going to get into the main cockpit and drive this thing around. So you can see there it's quite easy to highlight the cockpit just by standing on the edge here. We can press F, and now we're on the inside. And that is what we get. Pressing number 1 is going to be for the camera at the very front, where we can see our armoured plates or even steel blocks making the black slope, just wobbling around. And once again, we've got controls for our turret and main cannon in case we want to control them from inside here, but you will lose control of the vehicle if you do take remote control, so bear that in mind. As for 4, 5, 6 and 7, this is simply for taking away control from any kind of overzealous gunner you have. So pressing number 4 and number 5 is going to lock the rotors and hinges, which are going to be for the turret and the little turret on top to move up, down, left and right. So if you don't want them to, say, turn the gun and start pummeling something, you can lock it and stop them. And then number 8 is simply to open and close the hatch on the top there. And there we go with that. It's a very nice tank which has been very well done, especially because it's not using any mods, which is very nice to see. So what we can do now is just undo the parking brakes and hope this drives safely. So moving forwards, this is what we get. As you'd expect, it's quite slow and takes a little bit of time to get going, but it makes it more realistic. It's just driving around to here on a nice flat surface. You can get some nice speed out of this, and hopefully that armoured plate at the front there will behave. So here we go, we just start to drive along in first person view. We're going to ignore all those sounds here, and we'll just use our camera to look around. Yes, we're getting about 45-50 meters per second. Can we go even higher? I'm not too sure. I am kind of worried about that plate at the front there. It's one little ping and this whole vehicle is going to go to space. There we go, we're getting some nice air time. Look at that go. Now we can start to drive it around to here, and I'm not actually sure what's happened there. I'm going to blame that on the game and not the vehicle, because as you saw, we sort of just sunk into the terrain like it wasn't loading properly. So we're just going to drive past that, and it does look like there's some ore down there. How nice. But yes, that is what we get. We've got a nice, quite nice tight turning circle. There's no risk of this flipping it over. And we've got some very responsible controls. How does that handle going across a little cliff? Quite nicely, it just bounces a little bit. You might damage a little plate here and there, or maybe a steel block. But at the end of the day, it's a solid tank to play with. And they're always fun if you've got a friend to sit in the passenger seat or even in the interior seat and control the guns for you while just driving around and being a lunatic. But that is it for the Stag Crusader. It's an absolute fantastic tank that uses absolutely no mods. There'll be a link to it in the description below if you do wish to download and play around for yourself. And I do believe I discovered an invisible rock. Yes, as I was saying, there'll be a link to it in the description below. And I'll be back with another video some point soon. Bye bye.